Today's episode is high stakes. As you can see, I'm suited up for this episode. That is because we are going to talk about high-level personalities. More specifically, we are going to talk about two presidents. On the one hand, you have the president of Botswana, Duma Boko, and on the other hand, you have the president of the United States, Donald Trump. Looking at the personalities involved, it only seemed right to suit up in order to level up. So let us dive straight into today's story. But before we get into the story, I want to put out this disclaimer. This story is not officially verified. By that I mean the parties involved have not verified it through their own official channels. But this story has been circulating on the internet for the last couple of weeks, and you probably might have heard it yourself. So like I said, it's between the president of Botswana, who is Duma Boko, and the United States of America. But I would like to read the headline before we go into the story. For that, let me put on my glasses. Okay, so the headline says, Botswana's president Duma Boko has declined an invitation from the United States to visit the White House. So the president of Botswana has declined an invitation to visit the White House. Wow. Denying an invitation to visit the White House. Okay. I continue. It says, according to the words of Botswana's President Boko, if there is any business or official engagement to discuss, it should take place in Botswana, not abroad. Okay, another bold statement. And it says, Botswana is tired of traveling abroad for deals that concerns its own resources. If there is genuine interest in our resources, come to Botswana so we can talk business. Let us respect the basic rule of commerce. Buyers should go to the sellers, not the other way around. So, apparently the United States want to do business with Botswana. You know, Botswana is a country in the southern part of Africa and is a country that is known for its rich resources in diamond. So the United States wanting to do business with Botswana is probably because of its riches or its wealth in diamond. And here the president is saying, or based on the headline, that if the United States want to do business with Botswana, they have to come to Botswana. Botswana do not have to, or the president does not have to travel abroad, because African leaders have a history of honoring every invitation that comes from the White House or any Western power. Anytime there is an invitation to go to the White House, African leaders are quick to honor the invitation. But here you have the president of Botswana, Duma Boko, declining an invitation to go to the White House. And that is really bold. And as it says, it is buyers that go to the sellers and not the other way around. And this is something worth talking about. Because how can I have my own resources, you have interest in my resources, and you having interest in my resources, you want me to fly and come to your country to talk about my own resources, which you have interest in? Make that make sense to me. This is a principle, a basic principle of commerce. It is the buyers that goes to the sellers. The sellers are stationed in a particular place. It is the buyers that go and locate the sellers, not the other way around. This goes against the normal playbook that we are used to, because normally when Western leaders invite Africans to come to their homes or their palaces, they honor the invitation without any kind of hesitation. They are so quick to honor the invitation, even when the invitation is to talk about something that goes against their interests as countries. It is not right for me to have my resources and you have interest in it. You want us to strike a deal. Okay, fine. But you have to come over. You have to leave the States and come to my country, because you are the one interested in my diamonds. You are the one interested in my minerals. So come to my home. Let us strike a deal. Let's say the Botswana president agrees to go to the White House. What will happen is that once he gets there, he will get this reception as a king. They will treat him as though he is a god. You know what will happen? You are going to be so impressed by the splendor and the beauty of the White House and everything that they have to show you. You will be so humbled that you will lose your sense of reality. Before you know it, before the negotiation starts, you've already been, seduced or manipulated in a way. They will use their soft power to put you in the state where you would agree with everything they propose. So during the negotiations, you are just giving in to what they want. It is on your flight back home that you will realize that, hey, this deal I went to strike, it is against our own national interest. And this is what has happened with African leaders time and time again. And that should stop. Because why should I leave Botswana and go to the United States? Do you know how long it is? It's almost 20 hours flight, 13,000 kilometers from the national airport of Botswana to the White House. Imagine, almost a full day, 20 hours of flight. And this is a straight flight, 20 hours. You having interest in my resources, I have to leave my country, take a flight of 20 hours to come to your country. That is not okay. I mean, hearing this story, it's such a bold move. This is so amazing that most African leaders should follow suit because you lose your dignity. I'm in my country, you have interest in my resources. I am not desperate. So you can't use White House to... I get it. The White House is so beautiful. It's so impressive. And it will be a privilege to be invited to the White House, to visit the White House, but not for this. Not to strike a deal that might not be in the interest of my people, of my own country. That is not okay. If you are having an anniversary celebration and you invite me to the White House, amazing, I'll be there. If you are having the State of your Union address and you invite me to the White House, I will be there, absolutely. But not to lure me into, striking a deal that might not benefit my own people, that might not benefit my own country. No, that's not okay. And that is why this decline from President Boko is so impressive. It's so impressive in all of its ramifications. And no disrespect to the White House. As great and as impressive as the White House is, it is not heaven. That is not where God's throne is. So, no way. This is so beautiful. And I think African leaders should follow suit. And I've seen that African leaders are really standing their grounds lately, reclaiming the ownership of their own resources. And this is something that African leaders need to wake up to. This is a consciousness that we need to have. We need to preserve our dignity, our self-respect. It is so important. Don't just get an invitation and then you just, honor that invitation without any hesitation. And it has happened over the years. You see an African leader that is invited to the Buckingham Palace, for example, to talk about something that is not in your interest. And then immediately you go. No. If the United States is interested in doing business with Botswana, it should go to Botswana. Like the president said, they should come. They would welcome you and then you can do business. And this is something that African leaders should take notice of. It is so important for our sovereignty, for our self-respect, for our dignity. Because there have been so many deals in the past that have not been in the interest of Africans. And that is because these deals are struck in foreign land. So once you go there, it's a different dynamic. It's a different atmosphere. You lose sense with reality. You lose sense with rationality and your own interest. So you go and then you come back and then you realize that the deal you went to strike is actually not in the interest of your country. So you open doors for further exploitations of your own minerals and resources. And we've seen these things happen time and again in Africa. The basic principle of buying and selling is that the buyer goes to look for the seller, not the other way around. It is not the seller that is interested in a deal. It is the buyer that is interested in a deal. And in this case, the buyer is the United States of America. So you go looking for the seller. You leave Washington, go to Botswana, and try to negotiate a deal. That's the best way to do it. So it should be done with these invitations that look glamorous, but then beneath it is a plan to exploit African countries. And this has been happening for decades, and it needs to stop. This was it for today's episode. I would really like to hear from you. So let me know what you think in the comment section. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.